I apologize for the hair, I just got it cut and I don't quite know how to style it yet. Ever since the early versions of the Oculus Rift started coming out over half a decade ago, I've been really interested in VR. For many people, it's just this small corner of gaming that's nothing but a gimmick that'll disappear in a few years, but I disagree. I'm not here to talk about why I think VR is the future of gaming, because it's not going to take over any niche gaming has already carved out. But I do want to talk about why I think it's here to stay. Hi, welcome to my channel where I talk about things that interest me because that's all I do all the time. Did you know that negative 12% of the people who watch my videos are subscribed? If that's you, please subscribe. And also, So in some of my earlier videos you can see that I have an HTC Vive in the background, but that's not actually where my VR journey started. In September of 2019, I bought the original Oculus Quest, which is Oculus' standalone VR headset, requiring no PC and no base stations for the low price of $400. The Quest is pretty convincing, but it's missing a few of the aspects that really make VR immersive. On the Quest, I played like 100 hours of Beat Saber, Pistol Whip, and other basic games, but when I started to get into Pavlov, things changed up quite a bit. Beat Saber and Pistol Whip are great, but I started seeing the gaps in the technology when I had to play Pavlov over virtual desktop Wi-Fi streaming. At this point, a lot of the games I wanted to play had like a fifth of second delay due to the Wi-Fi streaming, so I wanted to get a Vive, and by the time Half-Life Alyx, the most realistic VR game of all time, came out, I was ready to upgrade. I bought the Vive secondhand in May along with a pair of index controllers, and then I put in 500 hours of VR playtime in Pavlov, VR chat, and once again, Beat Saber. The jump in technology was insane between these two devices, which probably has to do with the Vive being connected to my PC rather than a mobile SoC. The Vive had no noticeable delay, and the index controllers were much better than the Quest ones. The finger tracking and palm straps made games look more immersive and feel more immersive, since I didn't tightly grip a controller that represents something I'm literally throwing across a room. The Vive was great, but it came out in 2016, and its age shows. The FOV isn't the best, so there's a pretty significant binocular effect, and the panel isn't necessarily the best either, so while the colors are good, there is a horrible screen door effect. Of course, you stop perceiving all of these factors at some point when you get deep enough into an experience, but it's just not the best. In 2016, it was standard to have a hard time reading text that was over a foot away, to find serious aliasing in the distance, to try and use probably the worst controllers for any gaming platform ever, and to get motion sick during play because your display only runs at 90 Hz. In December of 2020, I got into Skyrim VR and I wanted a more immersive experience, so I bought this index here, and that brings us to today. So to those of you who have never tried VR before, you might look at gameplay recordings, especially earlier ones, and think, wow, that just looks janky and terrible. The graphics aren't realistic, and the head movement looks sickening. And you'd be right. More than the dynamic range, more than the refresh rate, even more than FOV in my opinion, the biggest factor in immersion is the screen door effect. Because VR lenses are sitting right on your eyes, you can see the gaps between pixels, and it looks like you're pressing your face up against a screen door. So when you see VR gameplay, the person in the headset doesn't actually see what you're watching. They see something like this, which, like I showed earlier, is what the Vive looks like through the player's eyes. I'd heard that the latest and greatest HMD, the Valve Index, had an amazing panel with no screen door effect at all. Obviously that's not true, but when my Index came in, I was blown away. Coming from the Quest and the Vive, my life had changed. Not only was the screen door effect like 800% better, but the FOV was much wider, looking like a strange curvy box thing rather than a greatly encroaching oval. The Index was more comfortable, and the fabric that the faceplate was made out of didn't soak up sweat in the same way, leaving the Index a drippy mess after 2 hours of Beat Saber, like the Vive did. So with all these factors, my experience went from like a C all the way up to an A. With all this hating on the Vive though, I'm making it look like it's a terrible, unenjoyable mess, but that wasn't how it felt. In the same way that you filter your nose out of your passive perception in real life, you filter the screen door out of your vision when you're immersed in VR. You see, when you play a 2D game, your memories of the game are in 2D, and any moment you remember from the game will come along with this memory of sitting in a chair, clicking on your keyboard, and looking at a screen. Memories of VR games, especially the more immersive ones, feel almost like real memories, and my memories of VR from the Vive and the Quest pretty much never include the screen door effect, or the edge of the field of view, or the marks of the headset left on my forehead and nose when I took it off. When I think back to using the Mosin Nagant rifle in Pavlov, I don't remember clicking mouse 1 on my mouse and then S on my keyboard to back up. I remember actually pulling the trigger and grabbing the bolt to rechamber. I played Half-Life Alyx on the Vive with index controllers, and it was literally the most terrifying thing I've ever done in my entire life. It was so scary that there were points where I asked my sister to come sit in my room with me so I didn't get too immersed while walking through mazes of barnacle tongues in a dark, damp room. This is a really valuable technology that has completely changed the way I think about not just games, but entertainment experiences as a whole. There are VR movies, VR musical experiences and visualizers, Google Maps is available in VR, there are depictions of the world's most beautiful places in stunning detail, there's everything. And there's so much more than just that. The world is your oyster, and I'm super excited for it. Right now, we're in a bit of a rift between two different schools of thought when it comes to forwarding VR experiences, and subsequently, all other entertainment. Right now, Valve is working on technology that will read your brainwaves in various ways, which is trying to get us to a world where we don't need controllers, headsets, or other types of meat peripherals. It's just you, your mind, and the game. Full dive, like Sword Art Online, The Eye of Mines, etc. Alternatively, many companies like bHaptics and KatVR are trying to get to a more Ready Player One Oasis type of thing, with haptic suits, miniature treadmills, versatile controllers, and immersive displays. Of course, either way is sick, but the full live option is way cooler. Not only is it cooler, but apparently it's not that far away either. Gabe Newell said that, in the brain computer stuff, we're way closer to the Matrix than people realize. With Neuralink coming about, and a whole slew of other technologies like haptic gloves and artificial scent. Why is your truck that big, dude? With Neuralink coming about and a whole slew of other technologies like haptic gloves and artificial scent dispensers releasing recently, we're actually getting somewhere. With over 1 million VR users on Steam and the number of Oculus Quest 2 users surpassing the Quest 1 users in less than 7 weeks, there are more people than ever with VR in their setup. Which is like, yeah, of course, that's how it works. More people have something the longer you go on, but like... So, I personally am very excited for the future of VR. I'm enjoying playing Pavlov Minecraft Zombies like every day, and I hope to see this technology get more widespread attention, especially seeing as it's getting more and more affordable. Whether our brains are getting jacked into a VR coffin, or we're putting a suit on and stepping into a mini treadmill, VR is going to have its place in the future of not only gaming, but all entertainment. Thanks for watching.